Hello and welcome back to another episode of Vikings Happy Hour, sponsored by Lake Monster Brewing, Eastside Jiu-Jitsu, and That's Badass Wood Art. Remember to hit like and subscribe to stay up to date with all of our latest Vikings content, including this video today. Before we get into final 53-man roster breakdown, we are going to be doing a giveaway here soon. I have with me just this glorious Lake Monster hat. It's fall weather soon, unfortunately. And I feel like these colors go
unfortunately.
Oh my gosh.
Fall weather's the best weather.
Matt,
fall weather is the best weather.
You should have told him. This is your fault, Matt.
I know. I take full responsibility for what's about to happen on this show. But yeah, once we get to 3,100 subscribers on YouTube, we'll be giving away this hat to a lucky subscriber. So make sure you tell your friends and family, hit the like and subscribe.
Fall weather means football weather, baby. Come on.
That's true. That is true. Let's dive in. Tuesday is cut down day for the NFL. We've already started to see some cuts roll in this Sunday, but I thought it'd be a good opportunity. We went through it a couple weeks ago, just position by position, get a feel for where everybody's head is at.
We'll do it better this time. We Matt and I struggled through the last time, so we'll do better.
And thank you also for the people in the chat already joining us. We're curious to know your thoughts as well, so make sure you put them in the comments below as we kind of roll through this thing. So, Ryan, are you ready?
Born ready.
All right. Let's start.
Let's start with Mekhi Blackman. Just see what Ryan thinks.
Just go right from there.
I'm just playing.
Hey, I'm not. No, come on. Hey, we all make mistakes.
It was a joke, bro. I'm just playing with you.
So I think it's the easiest to just go position by position.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get a feel for how everyone thinks, and then I'll be keeping track of what we consensus.
Yeah, we'll do the math. We'll keep the math going because I feel like Matt and I
Yes.
definitely struggled with that last time. We'll
Yes,
keep the math
we definitely
up to date.
did.
This is not a mad math podcast.
No,
So-
definitely not. We don't have Eric Eager here.
The biggest question surrounding the quarterback group is, will they finally keep three quarterbacks? Historically, they've only kept two, dating back, probably before 2020, but I have the numbers in front of me. The last 3 seasons, they've only kept 2 quarterbacks. How does everyone here feel about whether or not they keep 3 quarterbacks? And when I say keep 3 quarterbacks, I essentially mean keeping Jaren Hall.
Well, I think yesterday after the game, Kevin O'Connell was asked this almost point blankly, and he responded that he wants to keep Jaren Hall around. And that would imply that he's not going to take the risk of putting him on the practice squad. So I feel like that's a pretty firm answer for us that he's going to be sticking around on a 53-man roster. I guess theoretically they could cut Nick Mullins and just keep Jaren Hall, but no, I feel pretty confident they're keeping all 3.
With the new rule, I just think that third string quarterback is even more like vital to teams. Like you'll see less teams cutting those guys to try to put them on the practice squad, and you'll see them keep them on the 53 because of that new QB rule, that third QB rule on the 53-man roster. So I just don't see the Vikings cutting Hall at this point. It doesn't make sense. Why would they draft him in the 5th round, go through all that work, let him play that entire preseason game, and then just kind of cut bait with him, or at least risk cutting bait with him? It just doesn't make sense to me. I think he showed enough progress that he's earned that QB3 role. And I think that QB3 role has become even more important to teams than it, like I said earlier, like it has before, because of that new rule where you could dress all 3 quarterbacks, but that third guy doesn't count towards your 46 active roster.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just wouldn't make sense to not keep him at this stage.
Ryan.
I agree. I mean, Miles just likes him, because they kind of got a little similarity, right? They kind of look like each other. Right. It's like his little brother over here. No,
he might be older than me. Jaren Hall might be older than me.
No, he ain't older. Come on, we know how old you are. No, honestly, he did show some progress throughout the preseason. This last game, I think they tried to open him up a little bit more, right? Giving him some more 3-step drops rather than just rollouts and screen passes. And not that he looked great, but right, he showed progress, and
Yeah.
I'm happy about that. And hopefully, he continues to do so. And I think he makes the team. I think he makes the team as the third quarterback.
All right. That's the easiest one we're going to have, I think, today, as the position groups will get tougher. Aaron even alludes to it right here. We got so many good tight ends and wide receivers. It's going to be tough. The more you keep in one area stresses you in another, and that's for sure. So we'll get down into that. So let's transition to running back. There's a lot of questions surrounding this group. Obviously, Alexander Madison is a lock. I think
would say
Ty Chandler.
Chandler's I'd say Ty Chandler's a lock too at this
Ty
stage.
Chandler has earned that RB2 role. But beyond that, I mean, there are question marks about whether or not the Vikings are going to keep Dwayne McBride on the active roster. Maybe they try and put him on the practice squad. Kene Nwangu has been hurt, and we have not really seen him thus far. And why are you using the private chat, Ryan?
I just sent it to Miles. Come on now.
And Aaron Dykes and Abram Smith have come in and played well, but I don't know if they're going to quite deserve a roster spot as well. So, Miles, I'll start with you on this one. Where is your head at with the running back position group as a whole? And do you think the third running back is currently on the 90-man roster or elsewhere?
Well, I mean, I think to start the 53-man cutdowns, there'll be at least three running backs on the roster. So I think they're guaranteed. Obviously, we talked about Madison. Madison and Chandler locks. I don't even want to include them because like those guys are making the roster. But between Kene Nwangu and Dwayne McBride, I think we'll see at least one of those guys. I think it will be Kene just because I think the idea – we don't know the extent of his injury, but to what it sounds like, it wouldn't surprise me if they kept him on the roster, got through the initial cutdown days, and then put him on IR. Because I think it sounds like there could be a lingering issue that we just don't know the extent of it. But that would be my prediction, so that you could still keep other roster players around that you don't want to cut. They might even keep McBride as that fourth running back, and then when they hit that waiver period, whenever that day is where they can start putting guys in IR. I think it's like Wednesday. If Wednesday. I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I think they'll wait till Wednesday and maybe even keep McBride just to like keep him around. Then maybe put Kene on IR, and then you got McBride as your third guy early in the season, or there's a guy that they see that hits the waivers or is a free agent that they want to pick up. But I think that we might see them early on in that process kind of keep 3 to 4 guys and then kind of figure out the roster from there.
Nick, Ryan, any differing thoughts on that?
No, I think that's right. I think that they are not in a position. We know that the kick return has, kind of taken a step back with the new rules this year. It's not as effective, but when you have the best guy in the league in doing that, in the way that they've spoke about him in the past, and I think
best in the league.
As a kick returner, you don't think that he's going to be considered one of the best in the league?
Ryan's going to bring some heat.
Maybe not the best. I mean, Cordell Patterson's still alive, and he's still kicking. Like,
oh my
he's got the most touchdowns.
He's historic, but he's also like 31, 32. Let me just say, one of the top 5 kick returners in the league.
There you go.
Fine with that. Okay, all right. I'll take a step.
Don't worry, he'll be hyping up Baker Mayfield by the end of this.
No, it's okay. Nick Mullins is the top 5 backup quarterback in the league too. So
not anymore.
Yeah. Well, I think Matt Daniels is getting lots of praise about him being able to do that. So I think they'll want to hold on to it. So I think Miles is right. They'll try to keep him around. And I think there are so many skilled guys at running back available out there that they can wait until that 3 o'clock time on Wednesday, put Kene Nwangu in IR, and then figure out the position from there.
Absolutely. So
I agree with Aaron, by the way. I think Kene might get cut. I mean, or not cut, but like if they can figure out a way to put him on IR or pop or whatever it is, like you gotta like ice him up because we haven't seen him. Mm-hmm. We literally haven't seen anything from him. We have no idea what's going on with the guy, right? Keith McBride, he showed progress. He looked horrible that game 1. I was like, he's cut for sure. But game 2, he showed a little progress. Game 3, he showed a bit more progress. It looks like he's figuring it out. He's understanding the game speed a little. He still looks slow. Still looks like he's got a little cement in his shoes, right? But he is showing progress.
Practice squad. Like,
I mean,
just
practice
think-
squad, yeah, and like honestly, I don't think our third running back's on the roster right now.
no, I
Yeah.
agree with that. I
When
wouldn't be surprised.
When I filled out my roster prediction, it's kind of a cop out, but I just have TBD as the third running back. I don't think McBride makes the team, at least not the 53 man. I think he makes it on the practice squad. And yeah, we just don't know with Kene. So, all right. So for our numbers perspective, we think 3 is the number with Alexander Madison and Ty Chandler for sure. I just want to make sure
I think we could start with 3 and just go from
Yeah,
there.
I hope we trade for like a Michael Carter or something. I mean, that would be the route.
It could. James Robinson got cut from there as well.
Yeah.
I think that's a good.
I mean, he's getting cut for a reason though. That's 2 teams.
I really like Salvin Ahmed from Miami.
Ahmed
I think
is
he's really good.
I've been on him for years.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see because they have a bevy of running backs kind of with Myles Gaskin too. Like between those two, Gaskin and Ahmed, I'd be cool with either guy to be honest. But I like Ahmed just because I think he's super explosive. And I think this backfield
and
could
a bit more versatile.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Well,
so
we can stretch. We can stretch to 4. Just we're keeping CJ Ham too.
Yeah,
so.
I treated it as its own
position,
but I think we're all group consensus that CJ Ham is sticking around, gets the extension.
He's a running back tight end like hybrid, essentially.
Okay,
so we're keeping 7. We have 7 guys so far on the offense. Yeah,
are you keeping track too?
I'm trying.
Thank you, by the way, everybody who's in the comments. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Once we reach 3,100 subscribers, someone's getting this Lake Monster hat shipped right to them. Let's keep going. Wide receiver. It's let's answer Aaron's question here. You guys see us adding a player after week 1? A player doesn't get paid as much if they wait, right?
It's not so much that they don't get paid as much; it's that it's not guaranteed.
It's not guaranteed. For veterans, their deals aren't guaranteed after week 1, or are guaranteed if they're on an active roster through week 1. So essentially, like we've seen guys. Teams don't do it as much. Like it'll happen on occasion, but I just don't see it as much of like a benefit unless you have a guy that truly is like a true teeter on your roster.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise there's a free agent that's out there that you just want to wait on because an injury happens or something. But I just don't think it's
that with last year. There was one player that we were like, that we cut him. What? And then we re-signed him the day after.
Well, they did it with Everson a few years ago, didn't they?
Yeah, but that wasn't after week 1. That was just to like clear.
I want to say it was like
so
a deep tackle or something last year. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Bullard.
I can't remember. But
either way, it was so we didn't have to guarantee the salary.
It might have been.
To answer Aaron's question, I do think that someone will get added. I don't know that Tuesday's 53 will be the final 53 heading into.
No, but he's saying after week 1 though, and that's a little bit of a different scenario because like injuries happen and stuff like that. I just don't think it'll be for like financial reasons.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's keep the train moving. Let's go to the wide receiver position. They've historically kept. Kevin O'Connell last year kept 5 wide receivers on roster. Previous years with Zimmer and Rick Spielman, they kept 6 and 7 back in 2021 and 2020. I have the team keeping 6 receivers this year.
List them.
Curious your thoughts. I'll list them quick. I have Justin Jefferson, KJ Osborne, Jordan Addison, Jalen Naylor, Brandon Powell, and I have the team keeping Tristan Jackson.
My guy right there. Let's go, Matt. I love it.
This team spoke too highly of Tristan Jackson when he went down. I think he showed a lot in training camp and even some of the preseason games, even though he didn't get all the targets that you would have hoped for. But I think they really like him in an offense that's going to utilize passing a lot. They're top 5 last year or top 7 last year. I just think that they're going to keep a lot of receivers this year. So I don't think Jalen Reagor makes the team. I know, Miles, you've brought this up countless times, but I think Saturday's performance was more to try and get teams to trade for him, if that's an option.
Mm-hmm.
Or to claim him if he gets waived, because
if
someone claims him, then the Vikings are off the hook for his money too. So
so that's what I think for wide receiver. I'm keeping 6. Anyone disagree with me?
I had him only keeping 5 just because there's some other positions. I think on defense, or you have to account for. Let's say we're going to keep Najee Thompson, for a special teams role. That it makes it a little bit more difficult to keep all 6. So I have 5 of the same 6 you have. I just don't have him keeping Tristan Jackson on the roster.
It is crazy, the Brandon Powell storyline, isn't it? Brought in to probably just be.
But he's always been good. It's not like he's been bad.
Sure, but
and he provides special team flexibility. I mean,
right.
He can play punt and kick returner.
That's the key, right? It's the returnability.
And when he's had chances on offense, he's been fine. Not great, but somebody who can come in and gadget play, run a slant. It's not like he's making big plays after big plays, but he can come in and serve a purpose for sure. He's
not like an explosive downfield player the way Rager can be. Mm-hmm. But the one similarity is I think the Vikings wanted to make sure this year they brought in a guy that can compete at that return spot and that depth receiver spot, because they were really put in a really tough situation last year when they didn't really have a true punt returner. That's why they traded for Rager. And I think bringing Powell in really allowed them that flexibility to choose between the two guys. And I think Powell didn't suit up on Saturday. I kind of feel like we have 5 guys that are guaranteed at the receiver spot right now between JJ, KJ, Addison, Naylor, and Powell. And then if they want to keep it 6, whether it's Jackson or Rager, cool. But I think we have a guaranteed 5 for sure.
Mm-hmm. So one thing I would say about Tristan Jackson, and this is an honest question, has he played a role on special teams? Because I think if you're going to keep,
I was going to ask that same question. Yeah,
6, he's got to do something on that. I don't know if he's been in a gunner, and maybe someone in the comments knows or pay attention. Hi, Miles Dog. But I think if he's going to make the roster, it's got to be that he can contribute there as well. But if you're going to keep 6, Rager, we know, can contribute and do something on special teams. So
and he looked better. He looked better too. I'll give him that.
But Rager's only contributed on special teams when he is a returner. And if we keep Powell, who's going to take those returner responsibilities, both on punt return for sure, but potentially kick return if we don't keep Kene, then what's Rager's purpose? He's not a gunner. Where I think Tristan Jackson, not this year, I hadn't seen
he
it
did.
This year.
No, Jackson did play gunner on
did
punt.
He play gunner? Because I remember seeing it last year for sure, but I didn't see it this year for sure. So he has the profile to fit that better than Rager would.
I agree with that.
Yep.
But I guess the question about Jackson for me is he so good that you're worried about him getting plucked by somebody else? Because I'm not, and that's not anything against Jackson. I think he's been good, and I think he's had a good offseason, good camp. But I don't think he's a guy that you can't find around the league.
Sure.
And again, that's not to disrespect him, because I think he's done well in Minnesota, and I think the Vikings like to keep him. But I don't think he's a guy you're worried about risking to waivers. Or not making your practice squad, as you might have other guys that we're going to talk about as we move forward.
So that's why Nick's saying maybe we only keep 5.
Yeah,
I'm
okay with that.
I'd say we keep 5 for now, and then maybe if we come back and we're having another conversation, we can always add Tristan Jackson back in.
All right, we'll do group consensus. 5 wide receivers. Let's move to tight end, which is going to be. I think it'll be a tough decision, but I feel like the coaching staff and the front office probably knows who they want to keep here. Historically, I've only kept 3 tight ends, but Miles, we'll start with you. Where is your prediction at when it comes to the tight end group?
I know it's the unpopular opinion, but I'm at 3 just because in literally the years where the Vikings were the most run heavy, most 2 tight end set heavy under Gary Kubiak, they literally only rostered three tight ends. Mm-hmm. And I think they have better depth in this group than they did those groups. And they only kept 3 in those groups. And again, I could be wrong. I'm okay with being wrong. And but I think between, obviously Hawkinson and Oliver, you have those 2 locked. But it really seems like they like Munt. And O'Connell called him the best third tight end in the league. Yeah. I don't know if that's trying to get him to trade him or what, but it's just one of those situations where I think 3 is only needed because you have CJ Ham, which we haven't really talked too much about besides the fact that we know he's going to be on the team. But Like CJ Ham gives you a flexibility to allow a bigger body on the field that can block and pass pro, that can go out and catch the football. So it's kind of like a pseudo hybrid of a running back tight end. So to me, it would be a waste of a roster spot to then keep 4 tight ends too. I like Nick Muse, and I think he's shown a lot in year 2. But he's another one kind of like Tristan Jackson to me, where it's not that you can't I don't like to call these guys replaceable, but in some ways they kind of are. Like, yes, they're nice young players that you'd like to keep around. But if you can keep on the practice squad, that'd be my ideal scenario. So that'd be what I'd be doing. I think 3 just makes the most sense for where this roster is.
Yeah, and I've really enjoyed watching Ben Sims this year in training camp and in the preseason games. I just don't know that he's 53-man roster worthy, but he's also someone that can easily sneak onto the practice squad if something happens to the other 3 tight ends. You can easily elevate him and kind of move from there. Same with Nick Muse. We've kind of had that conversation. But Nick, Ryan, what are your thoughts on the tight end group, as well as anybody in the comments, by the way?
I agree with Miles. I'd only keep 3 right now. I was flirting with the idea a few weeks ago if they kept 4 just because of the run heavy scheme. I know it's very important to them, and Nick Muse has looked good during the preseason, but I think Miles is right about CJ Ham being in that position. I would say if they are doing some roster trickery to start with the initial 53, we could see Nick Muse kept and then released for another guy, and then try to sneak him on the practice squad that way, because you do have to keep in mind Nick Muse is a Kwesi Dofomensa pick, and last year they did their best to keep all their picks, and I think they want to keep them around. So we might see 4 tight ends to start, but I fully expect going into week 1 that we'll have 3 tight ends on a roster. I could also see an early season elevation for our tight end too, if we can get Muse or Ben Sims on our practice squad, because of how much time Hawkinson has been out, and team thing, and just having that security. But I think 3 for our count is where I would land.
Real
Ryan?
quick, Matt, to answer Mr. Kirk Cousins' question, I think that 4th linebacker is more important than that 4th tight end. Especially again, I'm like beating a dead horse, but like they have CJ Ham, so in a pinch they have another big body that can help fill some of that. Whereas a linebacker, it's a little bit of a different scenario where you need different skill sets there.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go off kilter here. So I think we keep the same concept here, right? Of 3 tight ends. I think that's correct. I'm gonna differ from all of you. I'm gonna say Nick Muse makes the team over Munt, and the main reason why, and I'm gonna be wrong, but this is what I want to see, and I'll be wrong, right? Like I'm not always right, or they're not always right, and they should listen to me like Creed Humphrey. But Nick Muse, the reason why I like Nick Muse is, 1, he showed a lot of progress. He's young. Johnny Munt's already 25, 26 years old. And Nick Muse can
super old.
I'm not saying he's super old. I'm saying he's older than Nick Muse, right? And Nick Muse can serve multiple purposes. Let's say CJ Ham gets hurt, right? Nick Muse can fill that role better than Johnny Munt can. And I don't think Josh Oliver fills that role, and I don't think that TJ Hawkinson fills that role. So you have somebody who's a bit more versatile, kind of like why I wanted to draft Braden Willis. Obviously, he went way earlier than I ever thought he would, but that's the kind of the same concept. Nick Muse can fill that role a bit better, and I just like the progress he showed. I mean, honestly, guys, he looked great this preseason.
he did.
Not great as in the next generational guy, but he looked like a very competent backup tight end. And I love the energy he brings.
Yeah, I would rather keep keep Muse than Munt if we're if we're being honest, just because of that, the things you're saying, because long-term potential and those things, but I just don't know if they see it that way. But obviously we'll find out.
I think if we're playing GM here, I agree with the Muse pick, but the way that they've talked about Mont, he sounds like he's a glue guy. He knows the system like the back of his hand.
Maybe they're talking about him to trade him.
I love that. Who's trading for Johnny Munt though?
A 2028 conditional 7th round pick.
Give it to me. Feed me anything at this point.
Stock them up. Let's move to the offensive line here. Historically, they've kept around 9 or 10. Last year, they did keep 10 offensive linemen. Outside of the starters, Darrisaw, O'Neal, Bradbury, Ingram, Cleveland. I don't know if there's a lot of question marks about this group. It's more so a question of will they bring somebody else in from the outside? But
I hope so.
I feel like we have 7 or 8 of those guys as locks. You list off the top 5, and then you have Vidarian Lowe, who I think is considered a lock.
I think Blake Brandel's a lock.
Blake Brandel, Schlotman, and then Udo. We might even have 9 that are considered locks. Udo more contract wise, than anything.
Can you get out of that quickly though, or no?
Let me go pull it up. It should be a guaranteed deal if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But he only counts. He only counts as a 1.2 against your cap. So like they may be paying him more money, but he's only counts as the minimum. So like it's not like cutting. And you don't really gain anything. You don't gain anything by cutting him because it's guaranteed.
Right.
So you lose an extra $1 million by cutting him. So it just wouldn't make sense in my opinion to do that.
Yeah. I feel like we're all in agreement.
You say keep 9, and I think that puts us at 24 so far. Me trying to stay on top of that.
And again, I'm not opposed to us potentially cutting somebody, and if we do, maybe a center for a better center, right? Maybe Schlotman for a better center, or maybe we do relieve Blake Brandel to have an opportunity to go play tackle because Vidarian Lowe is a Kwesi guy, and we bring in a more like traditional guard to kind of play that left or right guard backup position, a Dalton Reisner or whatever. So
Chris Reed too is still on NFI. So if they don't need to do anything with him, I don't think they might have to designate him as something.
He as a 53 NFI list, I think.
Can he? Okay, I'm always confused. Okay, then as long as he doesn't count when cutdowns come, then you keep him there because he might be a reserve you could stash later in the season if he gets. Again, we have no clue what the hell is going on with that dude. But it's clear that he's not anywhere near ready for week 1 unless they change that by next week. But I doubt that's happening. So that'll be an interesting situation. But he is a reserve guy that you have if he can get healthy. That you can. I don't know what the NFI is like when you can take a guy off it though. Is it if anybody knows that?
Let's look. We have time.
Well, while you're looking, going back to Udo, and because I see some stuff in the comments about keeping him. One thing I'd mention is he's generally, played well when given an opportunity. And we're all looking at that one preseason game where he had a few mental errors and didn't look his best. Still think he graded out well by PFF, but, he was starting with the ones, that entire joint practice because Brian O'Neill wasn't there. And so he was the only player that went on the offensive line that went from the ones, to then playing in that game. He's playing with the whole other unit. So I would give him a little bit of slack when it comes to, how that game went and historically how he's been. I think that they, have a lot of confidence in him. And so I would be shocked if they moved on just based upon how they've talked about him in the past. And I don't think I'd like him at guard, but he does have that versatility.
Yeah. Miles, to answer your question on NFI players who begin the season on the NFI as of cutdown days, can be activated after the team has played its first 4 regular season games.
Okay.
So if he's on the NFI, he cannot come back until week 5.
Week 5. Okay. At this point, I mean, they probably should just do that. And it's trending that way then.
Yeah.
So that gives them an extra roster flexibility because if he is healthy in 6 weeks or whatever that time frame is, then I think you have another guy that you could bring back into the fold that you obviously that has experience in this offense and is versatile, and was actually decent when they signed him.
So we're at 9 offensive linemen, 24 offensive players thus far. Let's switch to the defense quick for the second half of this show. Again, thank you everybody in the comments, liking, commenting. Be sure to subscribe, and remember a giveaway for this hat. I think it's in the camera. Will happen once we hit 3,100 subscribers on our YouTube
Should we just
channel.
recap the offense? We had 3 quarterbacks, 3 running backs. Well, 4 running backs when you include Ham.
Yep.
5 wide receivers, did we say, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
5 receivers, 9 O-linemen, and 3 tight ends.
Correct. So Miles, I think, is ready to clock out here for the evening.
Mm-hmm.
But I appreciate everybody joining us this afternoon on your Sunday afternoon ahead of roster cutdown. That's kind of the group that we have. We'll cut this up into offense and defense as well, so you can listen to just each one individually instead of the full hour. long episode here. And don't forget to like and subscribe. The season is just a few weeks away, and we have a pretty good content plan coming out for the season. Nick will not be with us the next couple of weeks. He's heading to Europe. So he'll be away as soon as he joins the CTP group. But Miles, Ryan, myself, Jason, Flip will all be here in some capacity. So, yeah, we'll be back Tuesday night for a live show, which we will be switching back to Wednesday nights. Not this week, but the week after. So until next time,
at
everybody.
Lake Monster, by the way. At
That
Lake
is
Monster.
true. That is true. We'll be live at Lake Monster on September 6th. So, yes, thank you, everybody. Until next time, Skol Vikings.